You ready?
Yep.
Cool. I got my knife. We got our Jocko drinks. We're good to go.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Mind Castle. So it's been a minute. We took a little bit of a break, holidays and stuff, hanging out with family. And I was also gone for a long time, and Reagan was gone for a long time. Should we do like a brief catch 'em up to what our lives have been up to?
Well, the last time we did this was over Thanksgiving.
Right.
And it is now middle of February.
Yeah.
So stuff happened.
Few things. So what did happen? Well, you traveled like crazy.
Yes.
I traveled a little bit, not very much. It was just mainly in the US. I went and played a couple volleyball tournaments, which were totally awesome. Hurt my back really bad. Nearly died. I wrecked my car.
Yes.
That was exciting. It's first-ish car wreck that I've ever had. It wasn't even a car wreck. It was just, I slid off the road. Anyway, big deal.
Well, that's kind of lame.
Yeah, so I was at SMBI for a while, Sharon Mennonite Bible Institute as assistant men's dean. So that was very, very enjoyable. Made a lot of really good friends. Anyway, what'd you do?
I traveled. So I was in Kosovo. Videos up on my YouTube channel. Multiple videos. I don't know, but that was like a week or so. Really good. Really, really, really good. We'll do an episode on that, actually, like what I was doing there and what we learned and stuff, because it was pretty wild, like off the rails. No, not really, but it was really a unique trip that I didn't think I would ever take because of some of the things we were doing there. And then I had a bunch of stuff with the nonprofit that I helped start that I was responsible to be at a training and another event in Pennsylvania. So I made 2 trips to Pennsylvania in the month of January. Ooh, it was a lot in January. I was gone more than I was home. And now I've been home for the last 2 weeks recuperating, which feels very nice. And then I'm about to get on a plane next week to go to Kansas to visit my wife's family. Trish and I are both going. It's going to be awesome.
Very cool. So yeah, that's why we haven't made anything for you for a while.
Yeah, apologies.
Slightly busy lives. Anyway, enough personal jargon, stuff and things. Let's get into the topic of this episode. So today we're talking about the cook versus the chef principle. I'm all about principles because you can apply them in a lot of areas of your life. So Reagan, this idea mostly came from you. So I'm going to look to hear you explain what this is and some applicable life advice.
Have you ever heard of Tim Urban?
No.
So immediately following this podcast, go on to the TED Talks list and watch his TED Talk called Inside the Mind of a Master Procrastinator.
Oh, I have watched that actually.
It's so good.
Yes.
It's so good. Anyways, come to find out, he is a blogger who is very, very successful, inspires the likes of, Elon Musk, for example. So
Okay.
yeah, he's one of the most widely read blogs in the world. And he has this weird, kind of nerdy, quirky way of writing that's quite interesting. Anyway, I stumbled upon his blog again. I was familiar with his stuff from TED and a few other things that he's done, but I hadn't heard of his blog before. And this is a thing that he talks about. Now, just, the official forewarning, he's definitely not a Christian and his blog isn't entirely clean sometimes. So watch that part. But there is some interesting things that I was able to pull out of this that should be fun. So oddly enough, Elon Musk was reading his blog one day and was like, this guy's pretty awesome. Gives him a call and says, hey, do you want to come out to SpaceX and Tesla and interview everybody? I'll walk you through the factory. You can spend multiple visits with myself, with Elon Musk, and I'll explain what we're trying to do and how we do it, which is insane. Like, it's the opportunity of a lifetime. So he does this. And for those of you who don't know, Elon Musk is the most richest person in the world. Was also Man of the Year for 2021, according to Time magazine, and is trying to turn humanity into an interplanetary species by sending people to Mars, which is kind of cool. How does a person like that function and get everything done? Have you ever thought about that?
Nope.
What about Elon Musk makes him different? Like, what does he have that you and I don't have? Outside of the fact that he is abnormally intelligent, but not like, yes, but not like out of the stratosphere. I mean, he's smart, but he also just works really hard too. There's something that he knows that we don't know. And after Tim Urban spends all this time with Elon Musk and they're going through all these things, he writes a final blog post on what's the secret sauce that makes Elon Musk work the way he does. And when it's the richest man in the world, you better pay attention to what he says because there's stuff to learn.
I think I would probably pay attention.
Which, by the way, this is a total rabbit trail. Did you watch the Babylon Bee did a interview with Mr. Musk, Elon Musk?
No.
Babylon Bee. Babylon Bee is a Christian organization, and the last thing they always ask people is like, "Hey, we're a Christian organization. Do you believe in Jesus?" And his response is fascinating. He's very intrigued by what Jesus teaches and was like, this Christianity thing's really got some good stuff going for it. So I was like, ka-ching, all right, he's getting there. Maybe he'll become a believer one day. We'll see. So here's the thing. Going to Elon Musk. How does he think? I'm going to read a little snippet from the blog because I just find this so interesting. So what is Elon's secret? And this is what Tim Urban says. He's a scientist through and through. He looks at the world very analytically. The first clue to the way Musk thinks is the super odd way that he talks. For example, normal human child. I'm scared of the dark because that's when all the scary things come out and get me and I won't be able to see it coming. This is how Elon Musk responds, quote, "When I was a little kid, I was really scared of the dark, but then I came to understand dark just means the absence of photons in the visible wavelength, 400 to 700 nanometers. Then I thought, well, it's really silly to be afraid of a lack of photons. Then I wasn't afraid of the dark anymore after that."
Wow.
What kid thinks that way? That's weird, all right? And this is a direct quote from Elon Musk himself. Or here's another normal human father would say, "I'd like to start working less because my kids are starting to grow up." Elon Musk, quote, "I'm trying to throttle back because particularly the triplets are starting to gain consciousness. They're almost 2.
Wow.
What? Wow. It's really bizarre.
Yeah.
It's really, really, really bizarre. Okay. So Tim Urban says it like this. I call this Musk speak. Musk speak is a language that describes everyday parts of life as exactly what they actually literally are. There are plenty of instances of technical situations where we all agree that Musk speak makes much more sense than normal human, like our normal human interaction. Basically, it's very precise. Here it is. He's a scientist, is the point. Obviously, this is a bit overdone. If you're familiar with how Elon Musk interacts with the world, it's a little weird. Not saying we should do that. The point being, broadly speaking, all knowledge breaks down to very precise increments of information that we can get down to the very core what's going on. We can cut through the noise and say that is the thing at the core. And that is totally what Elon Musk does in his life in every area. He's religious about this. Think of it like this. You're building this tree and the tree represents the information that you know. And you have to start with a good trunk, this tree trunk of knowledge, and clearing through the fog and building out your tree of what is reality. And eventually you'll get to the bottom of it. So you have to start at the core, right? And dig deep. You don't settle for the simplistic answers. You embrace the nuance. You dig deep. You try to piece and parse and figure out what's going on. And you get to that core truth of what is base reality, basically. And again, this is all coming from Tim Urban. We want to try to fully understand things, like completely and totally. Dig in deep. What's the nuance? Can I clear out all the fog and get to the core principle? So what do we actually want at the core? What is reality? How do we have a reality-based worldview instead of having an emotional knee-jerk reaction to things? Again, this is a classic Elon Musk thing. Is he doesn't have he tends to be like very scientific about stuff instead of letting your emotions take over. So this gets even weirder. All right, to quote Tim Urban again, Musk sees people as computers, and he sees his brain as software being the most important product that he owns. And since there aren't companies designing brain software, he's designed his own, beta tests it every day, and makes constant updates.
I like that.
You see what he's saying, right?
Yeah.
Basically, he's building his trunk of knowledge, and your brain is your software. And you're trying stuff every day. You're trying out, oh, did that work? Oops, wrong software package.
System crash.
I'm not recommending that that's how you think about your brain. It's a little bit weird, but just hang with us here. Okay, so what are we saying in all of this? When you boil it down, the thing that makes Elon Musk really good is he is very precise, very specific about a few specific things. Do not, like when it comes to psychology or emotions, not your guy. But when it comes to science, he's very, very good at getting to that core root trunk of knowledge that we're talking about. Especially, and this is a big one, is figuring out what they call first principles, the base core reality, first principles of how the world works. The laws of gravity, the laws of physics, very like the bottom layer of what makes the planet basically and how it works. If you can figure that stuff out, then you can slowly start building on top of it. And that's totally how he starts. So like he wants to build a rocket company. Instead of just copying what everybody else does, he says, how does a rocket actually work? And what are the raw ingredients that build a rocket? Like the actual physical ore that's mined from mountains. Like he started there and figured out he could do it for like a tenth the price.
2%.
2%. Okay, so he's come down since. All right.
Yeah.
Really, really smart. No other company had actually thought to do that. They were just doing it the way they've always done it. What is the core first principle to work with? Now, you ready for the cook and the chef?
Yep.
What do you think? Am I making sense so far?
Yes. You're getting there.
I don't want to get too technical on people here, but all right. So we've got the Brain S software. We got building the trunk of knowledge. First principles, reasoning from first principles and base reality. Now, there's broadly speaking, when you're dealing with an issue, two possible approaches, the cook approach and the chef. The cook follows a recipe perfectly. He needs an instruction manual and he follows what someone else has built or written. And that's what he uses. The chef makes his own recipe. And that's Elon Musk. He's a chef. Most people are cooks. And one way to really stand out, how does a chef stand out? He knows the base core ingredients of the fundamentals of what makes good food. He doesn't need a recipe. He can build his own because he understands the first principles. A cook can't do that. He's stuck to the cookbook. You take away the cookbook, he's toast. He can't make anything. And that's the difference between people who are moderately successful and the ones who are extraordinarily successful. In the case of like Elon Musk, he just went and made his own cookbook because he understood base principles. Fascinating when you start breaking it down like that. And it's like, I don't know how that even applies to my own life, but I think there's some lessons there.
That's kind of what I'm thinking. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, this is really interesting. I'm like, what, how, where, to what degree,
Exactly.
Like, where does this apply to my actual life and how? Because like that makes a lot of sense, and that's interesting how he approaches that. But like,
So, okay, think of it this way. What made Bill Gates, Elon Musk, Warren Buffett, Steve Jobs, you name it, what made them so successful? They knew something that others didn't and were able to reason out a solution that other people couldn't see. Because those are all good examples of a chef's. They could see, here's a problem, but I can reason from my knowledge of how things work, baseline first principle stuff. I can figure out a solution that other people can't see. And they have extreme clarity to see through things. And because of that, because they have, because that's their reasoning foundation, they have this keen ability to reason from first principles and a persistence to stick with it even when it looks impossible.
Yeah, the looking impossible part especially.
But see, the difference is when you and I run up against something that's like, ooh, that looks kind of impossible. These guys, because they're reasoning from a different style entirely than normal people, they know that, you just need to stick with it. It looks impossible, but it's not. It's totally possible. Whereas the rest of us are like, I'm not sure if it's possible or not.
Yeah. My thing is like, when do you throw that, like everything else out and take that approach? And when do you actually stick with something that actually works? Like something that you know works. It's like,
that's a great question.
I mean, I could throw all my YouTube stuff out the window and start filming YouTube videos on film or something random and weird. But it's like, okay, that may be a first principle of filmmaking, or like a long time ago it was. But like, when do you like listen to what the experts are telling you as like, this is the way you do it instead? And like, when do you blaze your own path? I don't know. I'm a little confused on that.
Yeah, that's a good question. Okay, so another classic example is Steve Jobs. His employees said, this guy lives in a reality distortion field.
Yeah.
He would literally like bend reality to fit his will, basically. It'd be people like, you just can't do that. And he would just do it. Those kinds of people are very rare. You know, but he's a good example of being a chef.
Yeah. Well, it's rare that they make it.
Yeah.
Most people do that and they live in imagination land and they live on the sense of fulfillment that they get of imagining how these things would be, but they never actually push through that.
And it's very rare for people like Steve Jobs or Elon Musk to actually have it coupled with good, solid technical skill.
Yeah.
And can say, oh, I can reason from the first principles of how computational theory works in the case of Steve Jobs. I understand at a fundamental level how a computer works. And because I know that, I know we can make it better. The difference was he actually coupled it with persistence, hard work, and the technical know-how to actually do it.
Yeah.
Whereas the next guy was like fantasizing about what the next computer thing would be, but he never built it because he didn't have the skills to actually do it. So like, I don't know, I guess that's really what it comes down to. The people who build impressive things, big companies or are very successful in whatever metric you want to use, they're able to see that. They can see, hey, there's a gap here, but I also know how to do something about it and they'll stick with it.
Yeah. How do you find the first principles is my question.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So back to Elon Musk, he wants to build a rocket company because his first principle is, I want humans on other planets. Okay. So you and I might disagree with that. We don't see that as super important. I got bigger fish to fry, you know? But he's like, no, it's like one of his key things in life that I want to do that. Okay. The only way to do that is with rockets.
Right.
See how he's starting from a base principle there. Well, the current rocket industry does not allow for us to do this and it's too expensive. Okay. That's a problem. Let's build our own rocket company to fix it.
Yeah.
And then, oh, but it's too expensive and you don't know how to build rockets. Well, okay. I'll just learn how to build rockets.
Yeah.
Okay, so now he teaches himself engineering and he starts reading some of the key rocketry principle texts, like textbooks that you can get. And out of that, figures out the mathematics and says, okay, now let's start a rocket company. And he starts a rocket company. Now you see the progression from his philosophy of life all the way up to him building a rocket company. And that was what was able to keep him sticking with it, even when financially it did not make sense. Like it was not working. Anyway, it's kind of out there, but like if you get your head around it, you can start getting some really interesting stuff sorted out. It's like, I need to be here. What's it going to take to get from where I am to that place? And you start with the material that you have and you figure out like your core principles and your life philosophy and what you want to achieve and why. And then you start slowly building from there.
That makes sense. Yeah. Especially that part of it is you have to define it very, very clearly. And that's a part of his, like his language too. Like you see that in even just the way he communicates very specifically. So when he says he wants something, he knows exactly what he wants. It wasn't like, I'm going to build a rocket and fly to Mars. It was like, I'm going to build this kind of rocket. I'm going to launch it here. It's going to return to Earth. It's going to do this, this, and this. It's going to carry this many people on, you know, the south side of Mars or whatever. Like, you know, it's very, very specific. And that is crucial because if you don't have that, then I have a feeling you have people following their first principles and they don't know what that is. And it might be like binging on TikTok, you know, like that's a problem.
Okay. But that's a great point. So what makes one person very motivated and creative and positively contributing to the world versus the guy who doesn't really do anything with his life and just watches TV all the time? What's the difference?
There's a lot of differences.
But I would argue at the base, they have a very core difference in their life philosophies. They have to. And out of those first principles, these are the things that matter to me and the things I want to achieve as their baseline first principles. Those things are so different. And as a result, you come out with two very different lives.
Right. But how do you change that if someone is literally not interested in that?
That's a great question. I don't know.
It comes back to the whole why do you want to be productive thing. Like, you know, if you're being productive and what you spend your free time on is something trivial, then like you wanted to be productive so that you'd have more time for that trivial task. And it's like, well, that's not going to last necessarily. And this comes back to intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation that like rewards, like short-term stuff is not going to sustain you very long-term. And you need that deeper contribution. I think that's where a lot of it comes back to because we all have like basic human needs, but the two that most people miss are contribution and growth. Like a desire to give to other people and a desire to grow yourself. And I think a lot of times people, when they don't have like that fundamental like foundation layer is different. Elon is trying to contribute to the world. Like he has a picture bigger than himself. So like to him, it makes no sense to spend his free time doing something that is like 100% pure selfish motive.
Right.
Am I right on that?
Oh
or
yeah.
no?
So like for example, talk about a highly motivated guy. He's ridiculous. He goes and founds PayPal or co-founds PayPal,
Mhm.
walks away with like billions of dollars, or it sold for billions. I forget exactly how much, but he had enough money personally out of the acquisition to retire and never work a day of his life ever again. And he's like 30 something or other. And most people in Silicon Valley, that's totally what they would do because the motive is money.
Mhm.
And he took it was less than a year, I'm going to say, something like that. And he goes and founds Tesla. And people were just so surprised. Like you go back and read stuff. They're just like, why? Like he didn't need the money. Like why would he start another
Mhm.
company? Because they're stuck on the only reason you would do this is to make money.
Right.
And he's going like, no, I just like building stuff. And I want to build a car that runs on electric instead of gasoline because I really want to do that. And it really matters to me.
Mhm.
And the money is irrelevant. Whereas most people out there, it's like, oh, if I could just get a little more money, and then they're good. And then they think they've got it made because that's their first principle. Their first principle doesn't go any deeper than if I could just start a business, make a lot of money and become financially stable and retire early. That's all I want.
Mhm.
That's their first principle. And out of that, they live their entire life. And then one day they turn 60 and they're like, oh, that was actually not worth it.
Mhm. So what do you do then? Like, cause like I was thinking about this the other day. I was like, okay, what would I do with my free time if I did not have a YouTube channel and I did not care about giving back to other people or bettering myself because of that need? Like what would
you fill your time with?
What would I fill my time with?
You would seriously probably just spend it hanging out with people or
waste a lot of it.
You would spend a lot of time on
temporary
stuff
pleasure. Literally, that's like games and whatever videos. Like a lot of it would be that probably.
Yeah.
Like I'm saying if I did not have that passion and that drive for a passion. But I'm saying like I was thinking about that. I was like, okay, if I did not have any of that and I was unsatisfied with my life, what would I make as far as a direction in my life? And how would I do that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because like I see
important.
this all around me with people. It's like, like I'm looking at them like, man, like, why don't you pour into something? But then I also flip it around. I'm like, whoa, like I would probably be in the same shoes of like, I don't know, like nothing interests me. Like, where do you start?
Yeah. Well, and that's a scary one. Because if you have people in your life, whoever's listening, who it feels like they're kind of not wasting their life, but just kind of floating through it. And every day is just kind of same old. And that's fine. We're not saying that's wrong necessarily, but maybe there's just that thing in the back of your mind, maybe there's a little more. What do you say to someone like that? Because you have to be very careful because you might say, oh, you should, go get a hobby or start, giving back to society or helping people. And then they try to do it and it is terrible and they just flop and they don't like it and it becomes a big disaster. There's like realistically that could happen and that's sad. So we don't want that. But how do you motivate people to use their lives well? I mean, you only got one, so like you better use it. And most people, I believe, and this is why I wanted to kind of start this series or whatever season, I guess, since we took a break with this, is you have to find your first principles.
Yeah.
Back to that tree of knowledge, information thing that we're building. What's the core root system that's driving all the knowledge that you're building, the worldview that you're building? Every day, you're building a worldview. Every single day. You're taking in information and it's building your worldview, whether you like it or not. And so it's building that tree of information that builds or that expresses what you see in the world. What's the root system and what are you adding to the tree every day? And are you intentional about it? Because there's a lot of people out there that do not know what their first principles are in life.
Yeah.
Which seems kind of scary a little bit actually. Because if you don't know, you can get way off in the deep end really fast.
Yeah. You can chase things that aren't even interests of yours. They're just interests of other people that they're pushing you into or whatever.
Yeah.
So what would you say to someone then that is in that like spot in life where they're like, okay, I don't have that. I don't have what you're talking about. I feel unmotivated, undisciplined. I don't, do these things, but I want something more. I don't want to spend my time, wasting it. Like, where do they start?
That's a great question. First thought is just try stuff. Actually, like give yourself the freedom to try things you haven't tried before that you're not sure if you'll enjoy them or not, but you should at least try. It's like try helping someone, try a little bit of traveling, try stepping away from your job for a couple of days and go to a cabin and just write out what are the things when I get to the end of my life, what are the things that I want to have accomplished, not like physical things, but like deep core things. And I found like for myself, honestly, just giving myself the mental space to think about it was all I needed. Because a lot of it was actually already there. I just never gave myself time to bring it out of my brain and put it down on paper and say, oh yeah, that's what I want to be living for. Man, that was immensely clarifying because I would be running around from thing to thing to thing and they were all good things. But then when I actually sat down and what I have in my Notion system is what I call my pillars system. What are the pillars that hold up my life? And you start with the pillars, then it goes into your pipelines, which is like the things you're working on all the way up to like your projects and to-do list. But it has to start in the pillars. If it doesn't, it goes off my to-do list. Yeah,
because then you have no basis for what's important to you.
Exactly. And so what I was doing was running around doing a whole lot of really good things, probably. They weren't bad things. But a lot of them weren't contributing to my life pillars at all. And when I got that clarity, and you have to be careful because this can become individualistic and egotistical and, you know, my values are more important than everybody else's. Please do not hear me say that. Get some good counsel on this for sure. Talk to people in your life and make sure you're not being selfish. But that is immensely clarifying. I cut out, probably 80% of the things I was doing.
Wow.
Because I was just like, it doesn't contribute to my pillars. So I basically had my nice little knife here and just started slashing through my to-do list and said, that doesn't work. Well, nope, cut that project. I'm not doing that. And wow, talk about feel amazing. I wish I would have done it sooner though, because I only did that like 2 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good place to start for sure. Have to develop those pillars. Good stuff. Anything else you want to add before we close?
Don't think of humans as computers like Elon Musk does.
Yeah, probably not the best idea.
But at the same time, thinking of your brain as a computer that's running software is kind of a bit of a helpful analogy.
Actually, it's remarkable how similar like your brain is to a computer. It's pretty wild. Like you have certain levels, like certain amount of bits of information that you can process per second, and like it's pretty cool.
And this is coming from a man who is literally building implants that they will surgically put inside your brain to enhance human cognitive abilities, supposedly Neuralink. So Elon Musk does actually view humans as a computer interface that we can hack, which is really scary.
Yeah.
Really, really scary. And well, let's not get into that.
Yeah. Anyway, cool. Well, one thing I want to throw out there to you guys is that we love hearing from you on stuff like this. And we realize that there are a lot of differing opinions, differing places people are in different journeys and different places in their journey than us. So like, yeah, leave us a comment, leave us a review, send us an email. We'd love to hear kind of where you guys are at on this sort of thing. How would you respond to someone like that? Or maybe you feel like that is where you're at. How do you find that? How do you get motivated to dig deeper and to find something bigger than yourself to pour into and actually have motivation for it? That is the question. Because I think you and I have been pretty blessed in that. I know for myself, it felt very much like stuff. Like there was a lot of things that were handed to me that I could use if I wanted to. And I had the option of building a passion out of that if I wanted to. So we've definitely been gifted a lot in that area, I think. But yeah, please leave us a review if you enjoy what you hear and come back next week for another episode of Mind Castle.